You wake up when your body is ready. No alarm, no schedule, no place you need to be. You sit up, stretch, and ask yourself one question. What should I do today? For 99% of human history, this was not a hypothetical. This was every single morning, for roughly 300,000 years, and the answer looked nothing like the life you are living right now. Ancient humans only worked 2 to 4 hours a day, not because they were lazy, because that is all it took. 2 to 4 hours of hunting and gathering met every human need. The other 20 hours were theirs, completely theirs. What did they do with all that time? The answer is going to make you question everything about your own life. This is the old human. We have explored how they walked across continents, what they smoked around the fire, how they slept in piles, and how they handled hunger. Today, the episode that ties everything together. What did ancient humans do all day, before jobs existed, before bosses, before the 40-hour week, when survival took 2 hours and the rest of the day was just life? If you have watched other videos about ancient daily life, you have seen cavemen running from predators and struggling to survive. This is not that video. This is about the leisure society we forgot, about children who never went to school and learned more than most adults know today, about people who never experienced boredom because boredom is a modern invention. By the end of this, you will understand why your burnout is 10,000 years in the making. In 1963, an archaeologist named Richard Lee did something that changed how we understand human history. He went to Botswana and lived with the Jew Hoansi people, one of the last groups still living a hunter-gatherer lifestyle, and he brought a stopwatch. He tracked exactly how many hours they spent acquiring food. The result shocked the academic world. 2.5 days per week, roughly 17 hours. The rest of the time, they did whatever they wanted. And here is what makes this bulletproof. The exact same pattern appears everywhere anthropologists look. The Hadza in Tanzania, the ache in Paraguay, the martu in Australia. Completely different environments, different continents, different ecosystems. Same result, 15 to 20 hours per week on survival. Paleolithic lifestyle was not a desperate scramble to survive. It was the original 4-day weekend, except every day was the weekend. Bones do not lie. When archaeologists compare ancient hunter-gatherer skeletons to early farmers, the difference is disturbing. The farmers were shorter. Their teeth were riddled with cavities from grain-heavy diets. Their spines showed repetitive stress damage. They died younger. The hunter-gatherers were taller, stronger, with better teeth and stronger bones. Stone Age daily life was not a struggle. It was a system that worked, and worked so well it left its signature in human bone. So what did they actually do? The work itself was nothing like what you picture. Hunting and gathering took 2 to 4 hours. It was walking through the savannah with a digging stick, chatting with companions while collecting tubers and berries. It was physical, yes, but it was social. It was outdoors, and when it was done, it was done. There was no overtime in the Paleolithic, no emails at midnight, no boss who needed one more thing. Compare ancient work to modern work. Ancient humans walked in nature, socialized while they gathered, used their whole bodies in varied, interesting ways. Finished by midday, modern humans sit in a chair, stare at a screen, perform the same repetitive motion thousands of times, are never actually done. How much did ancient humans work? Less than you, but more importantly, their work looked nothing like yours, and that matters more than the hours. The concept of going to work versus being at home, leaving one place to go to another place to do a different thing for a different person, this would have been completely nonsensical to an ancient human. Life before civilization did not split existence into 2 parts. Work was life, rest was life, art was life, play was life. Everything was woven together. The fragmentation came later. And here's the part that almost every video about ancient daily life completely skips: the children. In hunter-gatherer societies, children were not sent to school. They were not seated at desks. They were not given homework. They played all day in mixed-age groups, climbing trees, chasing each other, watching adults, and imitating them. And by age 7, they could identify over 200 plant species, which ones were food, which ones were medicine, which ones were poison. Learning was observation, imitation, and play. A child watching an adult make fire, then trying it themselves, failing, trying again, finally succeeding. A child watching stone tools being made, absorbing through their eyes and hands. No curriculum, no standardized tests, no grades. By age 12, the average hunter-gatherer child could make fire, build shelter, identify hundreds of plants, and hunt small game. The world was the classroom, and it never closed. Your ancestors' childhood was freedom in the richest sensory environment on Earth. Your childhood was desks and fluorescent lights and standardized tests. Which approach produces more capable, confident, resilient human beings? The answer is not comfortable, but the evidence is clear. Pause for a moment. Almost every video about ancient daily life shows you the work. They show you hunting, gathering, building shelters, but they stop there. They never show you what came after the work was done. The art, the music, the stories, the play, the boredom that never came. And that, the time after the survival work, that is where the real story of ancient human life actually lives. In 1994, explorers discovered Chauvet Cave in southern France. Inside were paintings of horses, lions, and rhinoceroses, rendered with perspective, shading, and movement. They were created roughly 30,000 years ago. These are not crude stick figures. These are works of art that required skill, practice, and most importantly, leisure time. You cannot paint a masterpiece while you are starving. Ancient humans made things that had absolutely no survival value. Intricate mammoth figurines carved from ivory, thousands of identical shell beads strung into necklaces, shells from a single species traded across entire continents, bone flutes with precisely carved holes. These were not hobbies. Art, music, jewelry, these were not optional extras. They were fundamental to being human, and they prove something that changes how we should understand prehistory. The oldest known musical instrument is a flute carved from the wing bone of a vulture. It is 42,000 years old. It has 5 precisely placed finger holes, and it is still playable. Humans were making music before they invented writing, before farming, before cities, before anything we would recognize as civilization. Music came first. Creativity came first. The 9-to-5 workday came last. Ancient humans spent hours decorating their bodies, red ochre, yellow clay, charcoal patterns painted onto skin, shell necklaces, animal teeth strung on sinew, feathers woven into hair. Body art dates back at least 100,000 years. Before clothing, before farming, before anything, humans wanted to look interesting. They wanted to express something about who they were, and they had the time to do it. Every single night for 300,000 years, humans sat around a fire together, the flames lighting their faces, someone standing, gesturing dramatically, telling a story, children at the front, eyes wide, mouths open, adults leaning in, laughing, reacting. This was the original Netflix, the original classroom, the original therapist, and it happened every night without fail. Studies of modern hunter-gatherers show something remarkable. During the day, conversation is practical. Where to hunt, what to gather, who is going where. At night, around the fire, 80% of all conversation is storytelling. Myths, legends, ancestors, dreams. And here is the key. A good storyteller had higher status than a good hunter. The person who could hold the group's attention in the dark was the most valued member of the tribe. Stories were not just entertainment. They were the encyclopedia, the map, and the survival manual, all encoded in narratives that were told and retold for thousands of years. Which plants are poisonous? Where water can be found across the desert? How to track an animal that does not want to be found? All of it passed down not through textbooks, but through stories that made you feel something while you learned. Summer and winter were completely different lives. In summer, dispersed camps, abundant food everywhere, travel between groups, festivals that lasted for days, long days of sun and energy. In winter, everyone tightly huddled in caves or shelters, stored food being carefully rationed, intense close quarters social time with the same people day after day, elaborate crafts, epic stories, more sleep. The rhythm of life shifted completely with the seasons. Winter was not a struggle to survive, it was slow time. The crafts became more elaborate because there was nothing else to do. The stories became longer and more detailed. Sleep increased naturally with the darkness. The seasonal rhythm was built into the human body, and modern life has flattened it into a single monotonous schedule that never changes, no matter what the sky is doing. Summer was the social season. Groups that had dispersed for winter reunited after months apart. There were large gatherings, feasting, trading, ceremonies, marriages. People who had not seen each other for an entire season told each other everything that had happened. The concept of a weekend would have been hilarious to them. They had entire seasons of freedom. The popular image is that men hunted and women gathered, and that was that. But the archaeological and anthropological evidence shows something much more interesting. Yes, in most societies, women provided 60 to 80% of daily calories through gathering, tubers, berries, small game, eggs. And yes, men typically hunted the large animals, but these roles were not rigid. The rigid gender division of labor is an agricultural invention. In some hunter-gatherer societies, women hunted. In others, men gathered. In almost all of them, the lines were flexible. People did what needed to be done based on skill, circumstance, and preference. The idea that half the human species must do one set of tasks and the other half another set, that is not ancient. That is relatively recent. And it is not biological. It is cultural. Did ancient humans get bored? Anthropologists who live with modern hunter-gatherers report something remarkable. Boredom, the restless, uncomfortable, I-need stimulation feeling that modern humans experience constantly, essentially does not exist. There is always something to do, always something to look at, always someone to talk to, always something to make or observe or participate in. Boredom is not a universal human experience. It is a symptom of environment stripped of natural stimuli. Your ancestors lived in the richest sensory environment that has ever existed, the natural world, birds calling, wind in the trees, animal tracks to read, plants to identify, other humans touching, talking, laughing, working, resting, all within arm's reach. You could not be bored in that environment. Your brain was too busy being alive. You have access to every song ever recorded, every movie ever made, every game ever designed, and you are bored frequently. Your ancestors had a fire, the stars, and each other, and they were not. What did ancient humans do all day? They paid attention to the world, and the world rewarded that attention with an endless stream of things worth noticing. Here's the part that none of the other videos will tell you. Ancient humans did not just have more free time. They had a completely different relationship with time itself. They did not measure it. They did not schedule it. They did not feel guilty about wasting it. Time was not a resource to be managed. Time was just the container that life happened inside. And understanding this changes everything about how you see your own life. For 300,000 years, humans worked 15 to 20 hours a week and spent the rest of their time on art, music, stories, and each other. Then, 10,000 years ago, agriculture happened, and the work never stopped. Grain had to be planted, weeded, watered, harvested, threshed, stored, and then guarded, because stored grain attracted pests, rot, and rival groups who wanted what you had. The first farmers worked twice as many hours and got half the nutrition. Farming was not progress, it was a trap. Once you have fields of grain, you cannot leave them. You cannot move with the seasons. You are tied to the land, and the land demands constant attention. The free-ranging human who walked across continents became a prisoner of their own food supply, and they passed that prison down to their children and their children's children all the way down to you. Then the Industrial Revolution made it worse. The clock became the boss. The factory owner decided when you arrived, when you ate, when you left, and what you did every moment in between. The 40-hour week was invented by people who had already completely forgotten that humans once worked 15. Life before civilization was freedom. Civilization was the cage, and we have been locked inside it for so long that we have forgotten there was ever a door. Tool making was done sitting together, talking, teaching the young. Stone napping requires intense focus. It becomes meditative. The same hands that made a spear point also carved a figurine, strung a bead, shaped a flute. There was no division between useful objects and beautiful objects. Every tool was an expression of the person who made it. Work and art were the same activity. Craft was not a separate category from life. It was life. The division between work hands and art hands did not exist. Every bead told a story about where it came from. Every carving was a prayer or a memory. Every tool carried the signature of its maker. The modern world separates earning from creating. Ancient humans never made that separation, and they were better off for it. Ancient humans moved constantly but rarely intensely, walking 5 to 10 miles a day, but not on a treadmill to nowhere, walking to actual places. Gathering involved bending, reaching, digging, carrying. Hunting involved tracking, stalking, short bursts of speed. Throughout the day, the human body got exactly the movement it evolved for: varied, outdoor, purposeful, and never forced. Now compare that to modern life. You sit for 10 hours. Then you go to a gym and run in place on a machine for 30 minutes, trying to simulate the movement that was once built into every moment of your existence. Your body evolved for movement all day long. It did not evolve for sitting still and then cramming exercise into a guilt-driven half hour. The modern workout is a desperate apology to a body that expected better. The ancient daily life scoreboard is almost perfect. Work hours, 10 out of 10 because 2 to 4 hours is enough. Free time, 10. Social life, 10. Creativity and art, 10. Natural movement, 10. Childhood experience, 10. Low stress, 10. Total score, 70 out of 70. This was a life that worked for the humans who lived it. The modern daily life scoreboard tells a brutally different story. Work hours, 2 out of 10 because 40 plus hours is too many. Free time, 3. Social life, 2. Because we are the most isolated generation in history. Creativity, 3. Movement, 1. Because sitting for 10 hours and running for 30 minutes is not enough. Childhood, 3. Stress, 1. And that one is for high stress, not low. Total score, 15 out of 70. We traded freedom for productivity and lost both. Let us update the chalkboard. 5 episodes. 5 things ancient humans did that we have forgotten. Travel, smoking, sleep, hunger, and now, daily life. The picture of the ancient human body is building. 3 more episodes to complete the season. In the Museum of Lost Human Rhythms, the 15-hour work week behind glass. Childhood without school, labeled extinct. The campfire as Netflix, classroom, and therapist, retired but never replaced. The seasonal rhythm that made life feel different every few months, gone, replaced by a single monotonous year-round schedule that never changes. These are not ancient curiosities. These are things we genuinely lost. The old human teaches us 3 things about daily life. 1. You were not built for the 40-hour week. Your body and your mind evolved for 15 to 20 hours of varied social outdoor activity. Your burnout is not a personal failure. It is a mismatch between the life you are living and the life your biology expects. 2. Creativity, play, and storytelling are not luxuries. They are not rewards for being productive. They are not things you get to do after the work is done. They are the default human state. Your ancestors spent most of their waking hours on them. You have been taught to think of them as optional. They are not. 3. Ancient humans did not separate work from life, art from tools, or learning from playing. The fragmentation of your existence, work here, life there, creativity on weekends if there is time, is a modern invention, and you can refuse it. You cannot quit your job and live in a cave, but you can start refusing the idea that your worth is measured by your output. Next time on The Old Human, ancient humans spent their days making tools, telling stories, raising children, and enjoying the kind of free time we can only dream about. But every single day, they also faced something we never think about: being hunted by animals bigger, faster, and stronger than them, with no guns, no walls, and no locks. How did ancient humans survive predators? If you made it this far, you now understand that your ancestors did not struggle to survive. They thrived. They had more free time than you, more art, more music, more connection, and somewhere along the way, we traded all of it for productivity. Subscribe. This is The Old Human. They lived so you could exist. The story continues with predators, the animals that hunted us for millions of years, and how we became the hunters instead.